just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. The same day I posted that video of the channel might be at its end, maybe it's time to just take a little break from YouTube. Literally the same day I made that was when they announced Dragon Ball Super coming back. And it's interesting. It's a really interesting announcement. Now, those of you who know me know I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan. Like, you know this by now. I'm massive on this. But it's still interesting because, I mean, we all kind of knew Super was coming back at some point because they've got some material to animate now. I mean, they've got, obviously, they can turn Broly into its own TV arc for Super. They could turn Superhero into its own arc on Super, on the anime. And obviously they got the Morrow arc, the Galactic Patrol, which is what the Galactic Patrol actually is. It's the Morrow arc. And Granola. Obviously Granola would come after Morrow, so they're not going to do Granola's arc until after they've done Morrow. So, you know, one thing at a time, sequence. We're going to have to worry about that later. But it's good that we're getting some announcement that they're probably going to animate the Morrow arc. But they haven't given a date, so the earliest we could probably see this is late 2027, so at its earliest. Before that, we're getting a reanimated, remade almost, version of Super, which I'm just going to call Dragon Ball Super Kai, because they don't want to call it Kai because it failed in Japan. What failed in Japan was Dragon Ball Z Kai, sorry. But yeah, they want to call it Dragon Ball Super, but it's like the Beerus arc, or Beerus, and then they're probably going to do Resurrection F or Freezer arc, or whatever. They'll do it that way because it's better than just using Kai. But it's a 6-episode down from 14 episode or whatever the Beerus arc is, so I get that. So there's a lot of things here that I think the early arcs of Dragon Ball Super can benefit from a remake or redo of the animation. Obviously, we all remember episode 5 of Super where Goku turning Super Saiyan 3 just looks like he's got his mouth wide open and it's like, it looks so silly. But then again, it's like, I've seen Beerus twice now. I've seen the Super arc and I've also seen the movie. We obviously had the movie. I don't know where the movie is right here. It might be over here somewhere. Is it over here somewhere? It is over here somewhere. See? I do know where stuff is in my actual collection. So I've seen Beerus this many times. I've seen it, and this animation in the movie is pretty spot on as well. And then, you know, I've seen Resurrection F how many times now? I've seen it told in Super, and I've also seen it told here. I've seen it told in the movie. So it's kind of like, how many times are we going to just re-experience the same stories? But in all fairness, also they've got DAIMA. Obviously, DAIMA happened recently as well. That finished like a year and a half ago or something at this point. Maybe a year ago. So there's a lot of stuff here that they've got to work with. And there's also a new game coming that's set in year 1000, which, you know, the 700 period is when Dragon Ball Z and Super and all that take place. So it's about 200-300 years after Goku and Vegeta and all that. And it's also, from what I can tell, it's also at the same time as Dragon Ball Z Online was based. So that might be a bit interesting to see if they take anything from Akira Toriyama that was developed for Dragon Ball Online. So that would be interesting to see. But still, it's like, okay, I get that they're going to reanimate some of Super, which will be good. If they go through all of Super and do, like, even the Trunks Goku Black arc, that would be really cool to see, like, a cut-down version of that that's more accurate to what Akira Toriyama wrote. Because the anime was a bit stretched out, you know, especially when you got to the Tournament of Power arc. You kind of hit these roadblocks of, like, okay, it's just dragging on at this point. It'll be good to see a Tournament of Power arc that's much cut down and that doesn't have to nerf Jiren at one point, you know? Or is that the Universal arc? I don't know. They're all kind of similar arcs, but it's kind of, I want to see something that's a bit more reflective of, okay, instead of having to go and watch a movie in between it, and is this canon or isn't canon, just have one arc after the other, and then have the sequential of having Broly in there as well, have all of it together, and then have it finish at the end of Z. So that's about, what, 200, 300 episodes right there, if you include Morrow and Granola. But it's kind of interesting that we're getting it this way. And when we talk about Morrow and Granola, I mean, a lot of us know by now what Morrow and Granola look like. I mean, is Morrow in this? I don't know. I'm not going to give any spoilers away. Let me just see. But he has one of the coolest character designs in all of the thing. Like, that's Morrow right there. That's a really cool character design. And they can animate that now. That's something that was really cool and critically acclaimed in the anime, the manga. So it's going to be really cool to see that in animated form. I've been waiting for it, but it's cool that we're just kind of getting more Dragon Ball and kind of more Dragon Ball content. Now, a lot of us were in fear for the longest time after Akira Toriyama unfortunately passed away. A lot of us were like, what does this mean for the future of Dragon Ball? I mean, we've still got all the voice actors there. We've still got Masako Nozawa. We've still got all the voice actors that make Dragon Ball. A lot of the voice actors. Some have passed away, unfortunately. But a lot of us were like, what does this mean for the future of Dragon Ball after Toriyama? I mean, we all said Togo Taro and all these other guys are going to jump in and start doing things. But we didn't know what it meant for the longest time of what's happening with Dragon Ball. And this is some confirmation that Dragon Ball is not only healthy, it's thriving. It's going to thrive when it gets to the Moro arc. It's going to thrive when it gets to the Granola arc. It's going to thrive when it gets to Broly and Superhero if they do those arcs in television form. But also, even just getting like Dragon Ball Super Kai at this point, I think it's going to be a nice introduction point to new fans who don't want to have to go through and watch 100 and... How many episodes of Super were there? I think it was 131. Let's see if I'm correct. Was it 131? Yeah, it was 131 episodes of Dragon Ball Super. And then you've also got 291 of Dragon Ball Z. And then you've also got all 100 and... Was it 151 of Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball? So there's just a lot of stuff to watch if you're getting into Dragon Ball. It's like One Piece has been going forever. I've been wanting to watch One Piece for the longest time, but it's like there's 800, 900, 1,000 episodes of that I just don't want to go and watch 1,000 episodes of something. I've also got Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon's got the same problem of going for so long that it's got so many episodes. But also, this is the question, like, at what point do we just get sick of seeing Broly? And I get that, oh, not Broly, what is it? Beerus. Now, we've seen Beerus time and time again. We've seen Beerus, this will be the third time Beerus has been retold, and that's not even including the games like Xenoverse. And this is the question about, like, I want to see Beerus reanimated. I think Beerus needs to be reanimated because the opening of Super was kind of very poor animation. But also, you know, Resurrection F could also be, when it was turning into TV form, could be very poor animation. The movies obviously look better, but, you know, there is a question of, like, this will be cool with the modern animation, the DAIMA sort of look, you know? But I also think at a certain point, I want something new. I want to see Moro reanimated, and I want Nozawa to have that voice, you know, the voice actor of Goku, Gohan, all that. Nozawa might have a few years left in her career before she retires. I think, what is she? She's got to be at least 80 or in her 80s now. I want to see, I hope Nozawa's around for a very long time. I hope she lives to 110 or whatever, you know, I hope that. But, you know, looking at where she would probably want to retire, I want to see a whole Moro arc and Granola arc and everything from Super before she decides to hang him up, you know, and take off the boots and put him in the middle of the ring, you know. I want to see that. I want to see a proper told with Nozawa's voice of Goku and all that. Now, obviously, people do prefer the Funimation voice actors, you know, Sean Schimmel, Chris Sabat, and all that. Nothing wrong with the English actors. I do enjoy their art as well as their voice acting. But I also really want to see the Japanese. I watched Super in Japanese because it was coming out weekly, and I just didn't want to wait for that. I didn't want spoilers, so I watched it as it was coming out of Japan. So the voice dub, I know people wait for the voice dub. That's fine if you want to wait for them, but for me, I want to watch it with Nozawa. I want that nostalgia kick. The same way I watched DAIMA. I watched DAIMA in Japanese as well. The only one I don't watch in Japanese is Dragon Ball Z, because for Dragon Ball Z, I'm nostalgic for the Toonami and Funimation and that. Unless I'm watching the first 53 episodes or 67 episodes, where I prefer the Ocean dub because that's also one that I really like hearing Rock the Dragon before each episode, you know, or like before I put in the DVD. So I really like having options, but also for me, I watch the first 53 episodes, or 67, because that's 53 episodes cut down from 67. And then for everything from about 67 onwards, I just watch Funimation. But I also watch the original Funimation dub, so I have the individual singles, because I'm a big smarty pants. But, you know, for me, this has kind of got me re-excited for Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, I'm wearing the Goku shirt, you know, the gi, you know? It was a t-shirt, but it's not the gi, but... It's kind of cool to see Dragon Ball in a good shape again. Like, after Akira Toriyama, we were uncertain, and now we've got clarity about the future of Dragon Ball. Now, I didn't want to make a video after doing the whole, oh, I might be taking a break from YouTube, might take a little rest, you know, focus on movies. But this was big enough to make me come out of that and be like, no, I got to make a video because this is massive. This is something we've waited since, what, 2018, 2019? When did Super end? Was it 2019? Because it was prior to the pandemic, we'll call it. But, you know, we still can't say that word on YouTube, I don't think. But, you know, I think prior to the pandemic, that's when Super ended. And then we got Broly in there, because it was prior to Broly coming out, I think. And then we got Broly, and then we got some things here and there. We got like Superhero, we got DAIMA, we got all these other little things in between. But we've wanted Super to come back for the longest time, and this is big because a lot of us love what Super brought, as you see me spitting stuff out. But this was massive. This is a massive thing for fandom. This is a massive thing for the Dragon Ball fandom. You know, a lot of us have been watching since the Toonami days. A lot of us have been watching and following Goku's journey, and then we watched as Dragon Ball Z came back with Super, and that was announced with, wasn't Super at the time, it was still Dragon Ball Z messaging and branding. But we watched when Battle of Gods was announced, and we noticed like that was the big thing. I remember seeing Battle of Gods in a cinema, I believe, and then I think I watched. No, hold on. I might not have seen Battle of Gods in a cinema. I might have watched Resurrection F in the cinema. I'm pretty sure I watched Resurrection F in the cinema. But still, we all remember that whole period. And then I watched Superhero in the cinemas. Obviously, we had to watch Superhero in cinemas. But then there's also been this time where I'm kind of like, what does Dragon Ball have to bring now that we've got just about everything from Akira Toriyama? Like, we've got all the material we're ever going to have now because we don't have Akira Toriyama anymore. So there are character designs that have not seen the light of day from Akira Toriyama. They have basically already done Dragon Ball Z as Kai, where it's closer to the manga, so I don't know if they can really retell that unless they reanimate everything. I would like to see a reanimated version of Dragon Ball. I think that needs to happen, and it needs to be like a Dragon Ball Kai sort of look, because I think this gets a lot of people intimidated, because the reason a lot of people don't go back to the start is because A, the Japanese audio just sounds atrocious. I mean, that's because optical. The audio has been refound, and that's on this release, but doesn't have subtitles, this one. But I would like to see Dragon Ball retold. That would be nice to have. That would be nice, but at this point I just want Maro, and I want Granola, and I want a proper 2 to 3 year broadcast schedule for Super, or Super Kai, or whatever they call it. Then have certain things where it leads along to Moro. But I don't want to have Nozawa retire or something before it happens, you know? The thing about this is we're on a timetable now where everything we get with Dragon Ball is very lucky because Toriyama's gone. We still have Nozawa as a voice actress for Goku, and, you know, Gohan and all that. But I think at a certain point we need to say, okay, Nozawa's not going to do this forever. So how do we get the most of it? I think, yes, we have Beerus there, we have the Beerus arc, but is Nozawa going to go back and re-record for Beerus, or like re-record for the Beerus arc? Or is she going to start recording for Moro at the same time so that everything is in linear, you know, it's all in one timeline, and everything is kind of like, okay, for the people who watch Super, for example, if you watched Super and you liked this version, I don't think you should have to go back and have to start again and then have to walk your way up to it. I'm going to watch everything anyways because I'm just a big fan, but if you got to the end of this and said, oh, I just want something new I haven't seen before, then I would like to see like Broly told in here. I would like to see then also pick it up from Moro or Galactic Patrol arc, and then go into Granola and all these other things. That's what I want to see from Dragon Ball. That's really what I want to see. And also, can we just get a proper restoration of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball? At this point, I think there are things from online communities that have restored it and color corrected it and did audio fixes and all this. But I want to see a proper restored Dragon Ball in 4K, proper colors, get the audio from the videotapes that people have been trying to give Toei for the longest time. Give us a proper Dragon Ball on physical media in 4K, and then we'll all be real happy campers. But I want to see that as well. But that said, I also want to see something new. I want to see the Moro arc animated, and I want it to have with the voice actor of Goku. I want to have it proper. I want to see it proper as it was done, like if I was continuing on from Super. That's how I want to see it. If you like this video, guys, like, subscribe, drop a comment. I am going to still make videos from time to time, as I said. This one just came really fast after my end of the channel video because, yeah, I didn't expect Dragon Ball to come back out of nowhere. From out of nowhere, like Randy Orton, RKO. And if you want to see something about the history of Dragon Ball, I will put an end screen here somewhere. I'll put something over here. And you can watch how I talk about Dragon Ball and how convoluted watching Dragon Ball Z on physical media is, because every release has a problem. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.